Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to day two of Virtual Expo for FI India and HI. We had a very insightful and good knowledge driven session on day one, and we have a power packed sessions lined up for you on day two as well. For the first session, we have with us Chinmay Devlankar from ASFTI, who would be the moderator for the session. So I would just like to hand over the proceedings to her. So over to you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, all. This is a privilege for to have such an eminent speakers in today's session. I, Chinmay Devgaonkar, the Honorary Secretary with Association of Food Scientists and Technologists of India, Mumbai chapter. Welcome you all to this session. AFSTI is an association of about 8,500 plus food professionals with head office in Mysore. And Mumbai chapter has about 1,000 plus members, and we conduct various activities. So the Food Carnival, which was launched along with the World Food Day, which is happening tomorrow. So this session of Food Carnival is combined with FI India, and thank you so much FI India for giving us this opportunity. So today we start our lecture of Dr. K.U. Naram Memorial Lecture. This Dr. K.U. Naram has been a recipient of Rajiv Gandhi Award for Excellence. And way back in 70s, early 70s, he had developed approximately 1,000 formulas on many of the health and snack foods. And he's recipient of many national and international awards. So he has a contribution to AFST wherein there is a memorial award and the lecture given in his name. And what we do is we allocate the awards for the college toppers in the first and second position from various food science and technology colleges. So in this memorial lecture, Dr. A. Damodaran from IIM Bangalore is delivering the lecture on blockchain in food industry. Blockchain is always a topic of interest, and till now it has been like said about the agriculture. So blockchain is still now being linked with the agriculture for the traceability part, but how it is also useful for food industry and what are the benefits. So Dr. Damodaran is going to talk on that, and a brief on Dr. Damodaran is. His specialization is on global commons, IRPs, and distributed network. He is consultant for World Bank, ADB, and UNDP. He is also consultant for Government of India and UN High Level Committee on Climate Change and Biodiversity. He is he is a fellowship member of Homi Baba. He is author of two single books and with more than 50 papers published in peer journals. He is also author of book Encircling the Seamless India, Climate Change and Global Commons, published by Oxford University. So I don't think we would have a better speaker than Dr. Damodaran on this particular topic. All ears to you, Dr. Damodaran, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Chinmay, for the introduction. And I'm very thankful that you considered me to deliver this talk. My topic is, of course, on blockchains and its application to the food industry. Now, there was a time when I used to, literally speaking, eat, read, and dream of spices. Now, that is my association with the food industry. Spices, as you know, is a very important ingredient and additive to food. And I was busy tracking the supply chain, or I would rather say commodity chain of spices. So most of the things that I'm going to discuss is about the application of blockchains in relation to the spices industry, and which I believe has a lot of application to what many of you are looking for in this session. To put it in a different way, well, why did I say I ate and read and dreamt of spices? Is that because I was associated with the spices board at that particular point of time, and I was advising them on a host of issues, which included sanitary and phytosanitary measures flowing from Codex Alimentarius Commission as well as the WTO agreement on this subject. This is the context. So that basically took me to exporters. Most of the exporters were based in Cochin at that particular point of time. Then I was not just going to exporters and talking to them about export problems. It took me to the farms of Western Ghats, which grow spices. So that included Guntur. That also included the turmeric belt in Telangana, which is the district of Nizamabad. I went to the farmers, went to the farm sites, and tried to find out how spices are really not just cultivated but also processed at the farm level. So I have a fairly good insight on what happens at the ground level, and I'm not coming from a position of you know coming and trying to tell you about blockchain, which these days many of us are very fond of talking about technology without being fundamentally rooted in the grassroots problem. So the thing is, most of those experiences with spices um, became relevant when I started looking at blockchains or distributed network technologies in the last 4 to 5 years. Not even 4 to 5 years. So, what is a blockchain? What is it all about? All that I will come to it. But let me start off by saying what is the state of art as far as food industry and especially the commodities related to the food industry is. So let me start by going to a few slides which I have prepared. Let me look at the slides first. Just a second. So this is, as you can see on the screen, this is what I prepared. I am not very fond of, though I am an academician, I'm not very fond of PPTs. It's a useless diversion. But in these days of virtual mode communication, there is no other option but to rely on them. So let me try to put it across in this manner, that digital technologies is very relevant. People all these days talk only about that. But for the food industry, it is relevant, especially because some of the ingredients of the food industry have a very long commodity chain, a long supply chain, and which is prone to a lot of problems. So that is the context. So what are the problems with the existing commodity chains? This has been the problem in 1990s when I used to work on, and the early decades of the 21st century, when I started my work on spices, as well as I have also covered coffee and other crops. And I wrote my first book is actually on all those things. One is the risk of pesticide residues, especially residues which come from farming operations. The pesticide residue problem has been very, very important and a very upsetting problem for both for farmers as well as the importers, as well as the food industry, which makes use of spices and other food additives from countries like India. Now it is upsetting because the consignment just does not go through to the in its process form to the end consumer. The other issue, the second issue of concern to existing commodity and food chains or food related chains is the risk of contamination. Now, most of you know about all these things. It comes from post-harvest practices. It could be salmonella, it could be, yeah, it is basically salmonella related problems. We had in the past a number of cases where consignments were rejected because of contamination by things like salmonella. So that was a big risk. The third risk is a bigger risk, that it is not just the problem with the product safety, but also the uncertainties of consignment rejection at the port of imports. I mean, at the port at which the product is trying to enter the country to which we have exported. So that is a serious risk. It used to happen very frequently, not just in the case of spices, but also in the case of coffee and other commodities which India was exporting. And then I come to the other problem with today's existing chains. There is no evidence-based value addition process uh, in the exporters or the food chain. And that is results in a situation where a lot of producers and processors in India and other exporting countries do not really get a good share of the value that is created by the product which is consumed in importing countries. The final problem which I saw in my experiences with agriculture was the non-realization of premiums, price premiums by organic food. Now, I remember there was a time when I did a fair amount of work for the Spices Board, which was very active then. Today, it is not active. I don't know where it is. I had to look for. You have to look for the map of India. You will not find where it is. But in earlier on, it had a substantial presence in the segment of organic food, the organic spices, organic herbs, and things like that. Now, there used to be organic schemes for helping farmers to go organic. It used to be certified. Small farmers couldn't get certified because the cost of certifications were high. Therefore, they created a group certification process, which helped a lot of farmers in the Western Ghats, as well as yeah, in other parts of India, to export organic products. But the question was, it did not really result in any serious premium price realization by the farmers. So these are some of the biggest risks in commodity and food chains. We have tried to address them in the past 20, 25 years in various ways. Most of you know how it was being addressed. But the point is, we are still not there where we can say confidently that we are in a position to extract terms from importers on the exports that we do, partly because of the 5 problems that you see on the screen. So this is the problem. Now, given this problem, I have put up this is my own diagram. This is an academic diagram, but still it makes a lot of sense if you look at this. This is a farmer. In some ways, it resembles the old Maharaja, symbol of Air India. But I picked it up from the internet. And then you have the processing plant in the country of origin, which is the exporting country. So from the farmer, it goes to the processors for off-farm processing of food and food-related products. And then it goes on shipping, and then it reaches the port of the importing country, and then it goes into distributor chains. Then it goes into the manufacturers of spices, value-added spices and seasonings. And then it goes into the shop, the retailer shop, and there the consumer picks it up in his tray. So this is a kind of commodity chain. I prefer to call it commodity chain and supply chain, because supply chain can exist for steel or any product. But commodity chain is very specific to agriculture products. So a commodity chain includes, it is based on the idea of supply chain, but with a special application to commodity. So what I have found out in this long process, I'm not getting into these figures because this has something much more to do with a later stage explanation, which I'll try. But the simple fact is this gentleman is basically not in a situation where I will use the cursor. Yes, so this gentleman is basically not in a position to realize much in this value chain because if he is putting it at, putting a whole spice at 100 rupees per kilo, let it be pepper or cardamom or chilies or turmeric or any of those things. So it is sold at the retail end because of value addition at about 350 rupees. All that he gets is basically 100, maybe a little over 100. I'm just giving a hypothetical number. It doesn't mean that these numbers are actually holding out. So the realization by this farmer is very limited. And part of the reason for that is all the risks that I mentioned in the previous slide, which is the risk of contamination, the product getting contaminated and therefore rejected by either it's an ochratoxin problem, which most of you know that it is ochratoxin comes because of mold formation. Mold formation comes because of excessive moisture in the consignment which is shipped. So all this leads to rejection at the port of entry. And then pesticide residue was a very big problem for spices and food additives in the earlier decades of the 1990s as well as early 2000. It continues to be a problem, but Ethion, maximum residual limits, MRL limits were laid down on things like Ethion and very dangerous pesticides. And despite all the best efforts, sometimes our consignments exceeded the MRL limits. And in the countries belonging to the European Union have this tendency to keep on, increasing or tightening the standards more and more in terms of the residual levels that are permissible for these products. So this is the kind of a chain. Now, in this chain, I will just add a small point, and that point is this is where India ends its story, right? We have where we end our story is somewhere here, this line. So on this side of the line, it is all India, right? And this side, it is basically the importing country. Now, this is a huge chunk. Now, this chunk takes over a substantial portion of the value addition accrues to these people. And the farmer, as I told you, gets a very small, negligible amount. In some cases, it is only 33% of the final value addition. Sometimes it is even 25%. And if there's a consignment rejection or a proper, even if there is no rejection, even if it goes through, importers find various ways of telling the farmer that your product was just not very, very good in terms of quality. It had problems. So this is the whole struggle. In good old days, the commodity boards are supposed to give a better deal to this segment, and particularly to this farmer, right? In the total commodity chain value realization process. So this is where I will stop with the slide and this slide and move on to the next one. Now, I did mention that European Union, even United States, for instance, it has got ASTA is the Spice Trading Association, which has gone for very detailed recommendations on how much of pesticides are permitted, what are the kinds of supply chain precautionary measures that exporters have to do. So ASTA standards are there, European Union food safety standards are there. It all says that certain additives are not admitted, are not approved. And those additives which are approved should be free from or ingredients which are approved should be free from pesticide residues and also from contamination from, as I mentioned, salmonella and other things. And the third one is that, of course, it should be free from ochratoxin and mold-related problems. The European Union food safety standards is like a nightmare because the regulations are too very detailed and farmers have to go through it in farmers don't go through all these details, but they're told that these are the standards which you have to follow. And if you follow those standards, you're going to get your consignment through. So this is the point with European. Microbial contaminants, these are all listed in papers, which of course I have a few papers in this, but basically this is based on other sources. Now, salmonella, why does it happen? Salmonella happens because of unhygienic post-harvest conditions. And these are, mind you, food ingredients or food additives. So in the case of spices and herbs, we have systems of cultivating thyme and basil and all that. Most of you know about it. But if the post-harvesting processing is bad, it is unhygienic, then it can create salmonella. And we all know that salmonella is partly created by uh, the high presence of coliform in some of the consignments. So all this comes from unhygienic practices, and therefore it is quite understandable that people in the importing country are likely to develop health complications. So why should they take the risk of taking something of which is of uncertain value? Now I come to mycotoxins. This is very interesting because it is interesting not in a, nothing, it is not a pleasant topic to be interesting, not in that sense. But mycotoxins is an interesting problem because it does not happen because a farmer, it does not happen just because a farmer had messed up his processing at a farm level. It happens also because of transit conditions. So, there is always a very big problem that when arbitration cases come up for consignment rejections, most of the blame is put on mycotoxins for mycotoxin contamination. There is aflatoxins and others on the farmer and the exporting country. Where the reality would be that a lot of it would have been picked up in the course of transport. Now, we know that mold formation comes because of moisture. We also know that despite the hygienic conditions created by containerization of all these consignments, it is a well-known fact that the hygroscopic content of spices and herbs and other food additives change as you move from, say, Indian Ocean to Pacific or to the Atlantic Ocean because of the temperature differences. So whenever the temperature changes, you have a problem because hygroscopic content will go up. And then by the time this consignment reaches the United States, maybe New Orleans, or it reaches San Francisco or the ports of US, you will find that the moisture content is much higher. But it is nothing to do with what the farmer did. The farmer would have set it at 10% or 6% or 5% moisture level, but it just picked up those things. So the answer to that is that farmers are told you should not just confine it to 5%, reduce it to 2%, so that even if hygroscopically you catch up more moisture during transport, it will be covered. But these are all very tough calculations for farmers to make. And therefore, there are real problems with this thing. Pesticides, I've already told you, 80 changes to the list in 2019, according to a scholar who has studied these things very recently. Very complicated. Certain pesticides suddenly go off the window. You can't apply it. Now, the farmer who is used to cultivating this with those pesticides has to move out in a span of just 6 or 7 months, which is very difficult. So it is the whole thing is about uncertainty in the farming practices brought by pressures from the importing end. So this is the result. Now I have covered what these problems are. Now let me come to how blockchains are going to solve the problems. So I'm not just talking of blockchains. I'm also talking of blockchains as combined with Internet of Things. So this is the kind of combination which is going to be addressed by this technology. Now, what is a blockchain? I will discuss it. Blockchain is based on this. This is based on my own paper. This is a centralized network system. You can see it on the screen, which means this is a nodal point. From this nodal point, you'll find a lot of everything comes from this nodal point. All the movements come from nodal point in multiple directions. So this network is called a centralized network because it is centralized in one nodal point. Now, in typical example is the hub and spoke model that airlines do, Lufthansa or Air France. Everything starts from Paris. So even if you have to go from Paris or Frankfurt, now the hub hubs are either Paris or Frankfurt, and the spokes are supposed to, the destinations of the airlines could be in different countries. It could go to India, even in India, it could go from Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, etc. And then to France, then to Russia, to Moscow, to St. Petersburg, or whatever cities it is. So this centralized network is a very great idea because it was conceived because the hub and spoke model's advantage is that it permits different aircrafts coming at different points of time to be synchronized and take off. So if I am flying from Mumbai to Moscow, obviously the best thing is to, like the crow flies, I can straight away go if the distance is less, right? But I have to go from Mumbai to Frankfurt and then fly back to Moscow, which is ridiculous for me, but not ridiculous for the Lufthansa airline. So the idea is that Lufthansa has a flight going from Frankfurt to Moscow. So it makes much more economic sense to load more passengers in the plane, take its capacity to the maximum, and then fly out the passenger to Moscow. The hub and spoke model has its great benefits, but these days, hub and spoke model is not just for airlines, it is done for banking institutions. Now you look at all the banks in India, State Bank of India will have one central bank based in Mumbai, and then it reaches out to all the branches and divisions in other parts of India. Now that is also a kind of hub and spoke model. The problem is this centralized network, if these days with computerization and information technology coming into this in a big way, if there is a compromise in the centralized node, everything gets compromised. So you'll have to, if somebody wants to play mischief, he has to just attack this system, either through a cyber mode or whatever mode it is. And once this system is handled, then the entire thing, the nodes will all collapse like a pack of cards. All the information gets leaked out. So we go for a decentralized system. So for some time they said, don't put everything into one server. These days people don't talk about servers, they talk about the cloud. Cloud is a larger data center, which companies like Amazon and Microsoft and all do. Now they are saying that, whichever way it is, whether it is a local server or it is a cloud formation, go for decentralized system. Now decentralized basically means, imagine this to be the State Bank of India. It will have multiple divisions. Each division will be connected to each other. Division heads will be connected to each other. But these divisions will be in charge of multiple banks, branches within them, right? So each one is connected. Only the division nodes are connected. But the branches may not be coming in touch with other branches in other divisions. So this is called a decentralized system. Now this did not solve the problem because it made, instead of one point, you had multiple nodes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. But the connections of this with this, for instance, this node with this node was not happening. Now, I'm not trying to say State Bank has moved beyond all that. They have a core banking system for all international transactions. They're far more advanced in terms of what they are doing. But I'm just giving an example. So decentralized systems also, if you are able to hit any of these nodes, it can compromise the system. Therefore, the newest thing which blockchains try to do is they just create a distributed system. Now, distributed means all these nodes each node is connected to the other. It looks like a honeycomb, right? Each one is connected to one another. So you can't attack anyone and create a problem, because every node is connected to the other, and every node is sharing the information. The computing systems are distributed, the information systems are distributed, and even if one is compromised, the different nodes can see if somebody is attacking the information system in one node. It can be seen by all others and it can be prevented. Some preventive action can be taken. So this is the principle of blockchains. Blockchains are based on distributed networks and not on centralized or decentralized networks, as it was the case. So this is one thing. So what does a blockchain do? Now let me explain to you without, please don't stare at the screen, because a blockchain is supposed to a ledger. Without a ledger, there has been no business in the world. All businesses are run on ledgers. Except, so this is also a ledger. So in good old days, you see old documentaries on cooperative uh, marketing systems. They'll all talk about, why cooperatives came is because the farmers find the local money lenders and local landlords to be a big problem. They're exploiting them. So cooperatives came basically so that farmers can have their own systems of value realization. So similarly, the ledgers therefore are very important. So in good old days, what used to happen is a money lender will sit, he can manipulate, he will be having these big registers, big fat registers into which he'll make entries. Now when he makes entries, he can also cut it out and do a re-entry. So you would have seen films like Manthan and all that, where the moneylender is basically an exploiter. He rewrites and writes and manipulates the ledgers, so that the farmer ultimately finds that he was paying some money, he was paying back the interest, he was even paying back the principal, but the register still shows that his payments have not been um, his payments have not been recorded, or even when it was recorded, it has been tampered with. So the blockchain precisely does not allow that tampering to happen in ledger. Now, how does it do that? It is digital. So once you are digital, there is a sanctity about it. What you write is written forever. You cannot change the writings. You cannot change the entries. So this is the point. So the whole point is this diagram. I don't find it completely okay, but let me start with this thing. As I told you, it's a distributed ledger. Now this ledger does not exist with one accountant. It would exist with all people connected. The farmer will also have a copy of it. The money lender will also have a copy of it. The organization which is running, which is taking the products, also has a copy of it. And everybody is watching what is happening in the ledger in real time. So you can't tamper with it. So this is the thing. So it is always updated, because as updations happen, that is also has to be certified. There should be a consensus that that entry is correct. It is the consensus is created by a wider community of miners. So technically, it is updated in real time in the presence of everyone. So you have it timestamped. Every entry is put to a timestamp. Timestamp is basically what you see on the computer. When you send an email, you know what time it went. But in blockchains, it is one step further, because your computer and my computer will show at this current moment, it is showing as 11:35. Could be a microsecond difference. So the time stamping in blockchains is very unique. It says that who came first gets the first point. Who came second gets the second point, second unit of time. So it is not reckoned in terms of 7:27 or 12:35 or 36. It is done in a unique manner so that people understand who entered this ledger first and who entered it first and who is the one who came with the subsequent entry. It is time stamped, then it is sealed cryptographically. There is basically cryptography means it's an iterative mathematical puzzle which is used to solve the problem. So the block is basically, it looks like this. For convenience sake, I'll draw this diagram here. Let me see whether I can draw it here. The block will look like this. This is a block. I'm overdrawing on it. This is another block. So all these blocks will have a capacity of say 1 MB or 2 MB. So all these are transactions recorded, right? Export, for instance, export of spices or food consignment from India to China, or from China to India, or whatever. So once this capacity of the block is exceeded, basically the block is closed, and it is closed with a very big lock, which means that there's a cryptography. You can't open it. It is sealed. Now like the old money lender, you can't sit after the farmer goes, he'll sit and take an eraser, remove it and put it. He can't do it. In a block, it is done like this. So once this block is closed, you start another block. This is a second block, right? Again, he will start storing transactions in them. So the point is, this is again closed because the capacity is reached. Then you create a third block. So you look at this. This is why it is called a chain. This is all chained, right? Third block is also closed, then the fourth block. So what is this happening? These blocks are all like digital ledgers And you can imagine them, it's like a garland of digital ledgers. Each one is put with a very heavily secured lock, digital lock, which is a cryptographic puzzle, and it is sorted out. And once it is sorted out, and who is doing it? These are all miners. They call it miners. These miners are basically people. I mean, the traditional model was mining. They are computer program. I mean, computation specialists who sit and solve the puzzle and put the block, secure the block. So this is all done in a very proper manner. So if I have made an entry which is wrong, I said that only 15 tons of spices were shipped from India to New Orleans, and I find that the consignment was only 12. I cannot tamper with this figure. This figure will remain there, but I can put it in the next block as a new entry and say that this was the corrected figure of the previous. And how is it that this is untampered? Nobody can tamper with this. It's because hundreds and hundreds of people are involved in this mining exercise. That is creating a block, putting in contents, getting those transactions validated, because you don't know whether he's a genuine exporter or something. So there's a community of people from the spices industry who are also entering and seeing and validating, no, he's a genuine exporter. He has exported this food item. He has a good track record of having exported good quality food. So this is all done by two sets of community, one who sits and program and close blocks, another set who verify each transaction as correct. And people who do due diligence or verification are people who know the industry well, generally well. So the point is, this block will carry the details of its file number of bytes which was there. This will be carried to the next block also. So this metadata, as you call it, is there present in every block. So what does this metadata tell you? So this metadata block, this compartment will tell you what is the entry, what are the kinds of data which were there in the previous lecture. So if I start as a cyber hacker, I start attacking one block, every other block is informed because the metadata is carried from one block to the other. So this is the thing. Now the point is that once you do all this, block is closed, export consignment has been done. For the good work that I'm doing, I'm not giving a fee to the computation specialist or the person who sits and verifies transactions. The computation specialist but gets something called a Bitcoin. The good old days, they used to call it a Bitcoin for the reward of closing the block and making it absolutely secure. So that is how most of the blockchains were started. Not the Bitcoin is a form of cryptocurrency. So most of the first cryptocurrency was Bitcoin. So most of the blockchain applications were linked to cryptocurrencies as an incentive for people to. Now imagine. Now let me go because I am running out of time now. Another 5 minutes. Blockchains are used by Walmart. It is being used by in the information financial sector. IBM is investing big time into it. They have got enterprise level solutions of blockchains which are called Hyperledger. Enterprise means for company based solutions through blockchains. Samsung big time into blockchains by putting all the credit card transactions into blockchain so that it is very secure. Currently, what is happening is it's all based on centralized network systems. It can be compromised. So that is why you receive messages from Citibank, so please don't give this number to anyone, people may do it. Though those things are not practically possible in the case of a blockchain because it is transparent and at the same time you don't know which are the persons who are transacting. So the point about blockchain is there are hundreds of people controlling it and therefore one person cannot control it, which was the problem with centralized networks that I pointed out. So Samsung is big time into it. Companies, a lot of equity investments are happening. A lot of things are happening. So industry, Google is also into it. They have acquired platforms of blockchains for this. So in the food chain, obviously, Alibaba is big time into it. I couldn't put that example. Walmart is also using blockchains to improve food traceability, authenticity, and safety. So it has information of every aspect in the farm which is happening, the record of the farmer, what has he been doing, has he been implementing GAP, good agriculture practices, or is he likely has he a history of violating it, putting in more pesticides than is required by MRL standards? So the point is, if you have this kind of a ledger which gives you all information, like Walmart is trying to do, or Alibaba is trying to do, or any of these international companies are trying to do, they will know which consignment has a probability of getting rejected at the port of entry. So you avoid a lot of infructuous shipping and failure and risks of failure or consignment rejections at the port of entry. So, and it is all done in a few seconds, just 5 seconds or 10 minutes. If you send an inspector to the farm, he goes back, writes a report and sends it to you. It will take about 15 or 20 days. But here you do it in just a few seconds because the information is already there. It is there in the block. And the advantage of the blockchain is the information. So let me give an example that I will get into this straight away. Go back to this diagram. Now, what did I show in this diagram? Yeah. So the farmer, his track record is there. How many consignments of his was accepted straight away, went through? How many of them were rejected? What has been the pattern of rejection? At one point, he had sprayed DDT or he had sprayed ethion into the turmeric. Then what is his record with the post-harvesting systems? They're all kept in a ledger. I mean, that ledger can be accessed. It's a digital ledger. As I told you, it can be accessed by anyone. The farmer is also able to see what the entries are. Here, currently, what is happening is the farmer's record, the farmer has no means of understanding what his suppliers or his vendors are thinking about him. This is all transparent. In his presence, he can see what exactly is the entry. He can contest that entry. So it is, his record is available. He can see it. The processor, there's a preliminary processor who, who grinds spices and tries to put it, who does a grinding job. He is also, and cleaning and grinding job beyond the farm. He is also able to understand the record of the farmer, and the farmer is also able to understand whether his processing was perfect. Then it is an FOB value. At FOB value, you are shipping it, and the processor is all the shipping agent also gets to know the shipping agent's track record in doing a good job with containerization and proper shipping. I told you, hygroscopic tendencies changes can be reflected in the consignments, right? So the shipper's track record is put in, how many shipments, how many times did it reach safely without a hygroscopic content going up, and the CIF value of the port at the port of entry, the price at the CIF, the price details are also put into the blockchain, and then the distributor, from the distributor it goes to maybe a manufacturer, McCormick or anybody, and then the retailer, the retail chain, maybe to the Walmart or whatever it is, and then to the consumer. All the data is available. So the big advantage, this is what I am trying to tell you, why food industry has to take to blockchain, is the farmer knows exactly what is the consignment, the moisture content in the consignment. Say he would say it is 4%. Then he knows what happened to, this is what IoTs do. These are small devices which are kept in the consignment to record the moisture, temperature, water use, a wide variety of things Internet of Things can do. Internet of Things is nothing but a sensor with a microcontroller, right? At real time, the data comes out and the farmer gets to know, well, my consignment left at 5% moisture. It picked up 2% extra from the processor's premises. Then at the shipping resulted in another 5 to 6% because the shipping systems were not perfect, or the containers, the proper containerization did not happen, or the consignment which went to the consignment was not into the container was not perfect. Then what happened at the port? Then what happened at the distributors end? And so at the port, if this project is rejected, saying that you had 20% moisture, or 20% moisture is absurd, but 10% moisture, the farmer cannot be blamed because he knows that at the time of leaving, it was only his farm gate, it was only 4%. So he can put the onus on the shipping company. And each one sees the record very well. So the disputes, if there is a consignment rejection, the farmer does not suffer if he has not done the mistake. Currently, there's no way of understanding. And because prices are also kept and fed into at every stage, the prices and the end prices are monitored. You understand, the farmer understands exactly what is due to him, and therefore a higher percentage of the value realization. I told you, India's chain comes only in this portion, moves from this end to the consumer wants to pay the farmer. A lot of fair trade movements are all about that, right? But the point is, the consumer is only meeting the retailer. The retailer is meeting only the manufacturer. Manufacturer means, what I mean is clean spices manufacturer, seasonings manufacturer in the importing country. And then the manufacturer is only in touch with the distributor. The distributor may be in touch with the processor in India. But it is therefore going back and back. You don't have a direct access to the farmer. So consumers, the fair trade movement collapsed. I mean, was not very successful because it was difficult for them to reach to the farmer directly, except through the conventional method of sending inspectors and finding out. That itself was very costly. So with IoT and blockchain, it is there for everyone to see. Arbitration panels which decide on whether a consignment was rejected for the reason that the farmer was at fault or somebody else was at fault is able to understand it in no time at least cost that this can be done. So I would say that going far in a farm, I've had the experience of seeing a lot of farms on farming units in, as I told you, in Islamabad on turmeric, Guntur on chilies, pepper cultivation, Kerala and other parts. You find that whenever there is a splash, a rain, and the water splashes out, you have a fungal problem as far as pepper vines are concerned. Now, currently what the farmer does is he does not identify which section has a problem. He just goes and tries to spray pesticides for that, which adds to their moral problem, right? So these things can be avoided. If there are IoTs kept in the IoT, sensor prices have dropped so much that IoTs can be made available to farms. Then farmers will save on their supervision time, their inputs time. They can save on needless application of pesticides, and because IoT will give the data, and the IoT data will be at the farm level itself. It will be entered in at the farm level and optionally linked to the blockchain. Blockchains are, will also get the data in, which is even better for the farmer. So he saves on his cost of production, and the food that is produced will be safe, and the farmer gets paid for what he deserves. The processor and the exporters also will get what they deserve to get, and everybody should be happy. So on that note, I come to the end of my talk. I'll take a couple of questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Damodar. This was really insightful. And blockchain and IoT together is definitely a turning point. And it's just not the quality, but also like it's also being used like a source of incoming inspection, or let's say so it is like so in meat industry, for example, it's being used like they map the DNA of the meat after that horse meat scandal. So they map the DNA of the meat, and then through blockchain, if there is a differential in the DNA, then the blockchain also helps in rejecting it there itself. So it has really helped industry in going to a next level. Now, let me invite questions from the participants. There is a raise hand button, so if you want, you can use the chat box, or you can use the raise hand button so that we can take up the question answers.
Okay. Ms. Chinmay, we do not have any questions till now. I can check
Okay.
at the back end.
Yeah.
Wait for a minute to check if there are any questions. Otherwise, we can move ahead with the next session.
Okay, great. So I have actually a question for Dr. Damodaran. It's while we identify, while we acknowledge the advantages of blockchain, the question always remains like who bears the cost, because we all know that this can be linked. But farmer, if we take just as a farmer community, he probably won't is not in a position to bear the cost. If we take just the food industry, probably they are not also in a position to take the cost. So then it is going further to retailer or wholesaler, etc. So, and blockchain is linking all these channels. So the question always remains is who bears the cost. So what are your thoughts on this?
It is very simple. Even in good old days, when we tried new experiments like organic farming, I told you about organic farming.
Yeah.
Costs of organic farming is phenomenal because you need inspectors to come and verify. They have to pay a fortune. So most of the farmers were not in a position to afford it. Industry just said you supply us organic products which are certified. We don't care about how you do it. Right? So who did that? It was done by the commodity boards. So the commodity boards introduced a scheme. They subsidized it for some time. Their idea was not to subsidize them for long. The idea is that once farmers start getting the taste of organic farming, and in terms of the money, the returns that they have, they would automatically switch to a system where they will be in a position to get certification done on their own. So if that was happening at that time, there's no reason why blockchain enterprise solutions on blockchain cannot be done. It can be done. It has to be done by government because the Niti Aayog is talking about blockchains in a big way. A lot of companies have come forward offering services for agriculture, as you mentioned, and some of them have started doing it. So the issue is who pays them? It has to be done at least as a promotional thing by government. And this is the best chance to give to farmers. Most of the farmers would, even if they're trading only, they're not exporting, they're only sending food for the national market. It makes a lot of sense to have this funded and subsidized by, the government. I don't think anybody else in the supply chain will be bothered about it. Because, but these days I should also tell you that there are any number of fair trade and pro-farmer lobbies which are working on it, and they would also like to chip in with, after some time they will also say that we look for blockchain kind of solutions for farmers in India. They will be grouped in, all the farmers would be grouped, their data would be put into a community blockchain kind of an idea, community-wise entered blockchains. You can think of a structure, but your question is very important because it shows the possibilities of creating new forms of farmers organization, new forms of processor organization, and a complete re-engineering of all the exporters associations which we are currently used to. Why? Because we need information. These associations' job is to remove what economists call as information asymmetry. Asymmetry is basically someone has more information about the consignment as compared to the other. So I think this is a tall order. This has to be done. Government has to take the first step. They have to fund farmers to do these kinds of things initially. And then the entire global chain, we already have certain links which have all broken down. We bring in blockchains, there will be more transparency, there will be more prices. I'm very sure government will be happy to do it. Now the question is whether government has money. I think government will have money when it comes to farmers. I don't think their interest will go down. Currently, what they need is a good blueprint to tell them that let us have new associations, let us have good farmers associations which talk to exporters associations and don't think that they are enemies of each other. But I think government is how I would. And then you can see things happening.
Wonderful. So thank you. Are there any questions from the audience, sir?
Yes, we have one question at the moment. So, can you throw some light on the costing or the pricing currently in the market for lot sensors?
I would say that I have found I can't give a price offhand, but I know that it has fallen by 40 to 45% below what it used to be about 6 months ago. And maybe it is also partly because of this current situation of COVID and all that. Applications have come down. China is very anxious to. China is one of the sources of sensors. Korea is another source. Korea is basically Republic of Korea. Taiwan is a good source of wafers, and then which is important for this IoT thing. Microcontrollers, India does not have too much of capability in that department. We have excellent engineers, but we source most of it from China. That is it. 40% to 45% it has fallen. Now, this means in practical terms, like, in the electricity field, we say renewable energy has suddenly become affordable in India, solar and all that. Earlier, it was impossible to get that. So I can't give an offhand price, but I can check on that and let you know. But definitely sensor prices have come down. But it's not just sensor prices. It's also about microcontroller manufacturing. We need more capacities. If we have both of them, even small farms will have it, can have it. Right? So that is how I see it.
So they say that the cost of blockchain depends on the number of parameters that you want to test, trace, and how much information you want to collect. So right from 2 lakh to few crores, it can vary. So depending upon how much you want to really trace back. So
That's true. That's true. But currently there are two issues as far as agriculture is concerned. One is price, value realization. You can get prices at different sources: FOB value, CIF value, farm gate value. These prices given, and then at the importer consumer end value. So we don't read too many data points. We need transparency in the existing data points. So I think blockchain should initially focus on prices, then commodity, the food consignment properties like moisture control, then possibilities of aflatoxin in every consignment. What was the not aflatoxin for the thing, ochratoxin for coffee and all that. So you have data on physical parameters, chemical properties of it, as well as you also need data on prices and value realization. If you do these, it will make a big difference.
excellent. So thank you so much. I mean, yeah, we really take your point of having transparency on prices. And Louis Jeffries was the first company to do trading using blockchain technology from China to Brazil. So it was like they set up the trend for doing online commodity trading using blockchain
Yeah,
technology.
that's an interesting idea. I think I should know more about that from you, because exchanges are, see, basically there are only two technologies that have come in the IT industry, from the IT industry, which has made a difference to the world in the last 10 years. One is ledgers, second is exchange. Because ledgers are about everything in the value chain, in the commodity chain. But exchanges are all about exports and, exports and trading. So if you are doing that, that's a good idea.
Great. Thank you so much for this insightful session. And on behalf of AFSTI as well as FI India, we please accept our sincere thanks for this wonderful session. And you may stay. You can stay. The next session is on sugar
Yeah,
reduction.
Chinmay, I would have very much liked to stay, but these days I'm teaching. I have a session in the afternoon for
Please,
class.
please.
I would like to.
Sure,
Please
sure.
excuse me.
Please. Thank you so much.
Very interested in hearing what others have to say, but this is the constraint. 2 o'clock, my other classes start.
No problem. So thank you so much. And we move on to our next session, which is on sugar reduction. And this is quite interesting topic because after FSSI released the new norms on of course, they are right now on expiry and other things, but then there is also regulation coming up on the FSS, the high fat sugars content and its declaration. And there are a lot of let's say hullabulla happening in the market. So we have Ritesh, who is going to talk on the sugar replacement in the Indian food, and it's my pleasure to introduce him. Ritesh is founder of F2F Solutions with 20 plus years of experience in R&D, new product development, setting up of R&D centers, food safety regulations, sensory consumer panels, product launches, quality assurance, etc. He has many patents and publications on his name. He has worked at senior level positions, leading R&D for reputed companies like McDonald's, Danone, General Mills, Givaudan, Godfrey Phillips, and Reptaco Spread. He's an alumni of UD City. We still call it UD City, but now it's called as ICT, Mumbai, and he's Joint Secretary with FSTI Mumbai. So Ritesh, over to you. Yesterday, I got a lot of calls from people, especially from the Sweet Mithai Association, that they want to hear your session. So we have many audiences here from the Mithai Association, Ritesh.
Awesome. Thank you, Chinmay. Thank you for the introduction. Please allow me to share my slides. Is it visible? Awesome. So I'm going to talk on the chemistry and technology for the sugar reduction. So basically, fundamentally, we'll be talking about the speaker, Chinmay has spoken that. We're talking about the chemistry and the function of sugar, why sugar is bad, and how can we replace sugar. And let's see some market data. What the data currently says, as Chinmay was saying about the mithai wala and other stuff. What people are doing it. My focus is more on the MNC and packaged product. But let's see what the trend coming to for the sugar reduction. Right? So let's go on very basic fundamental. What is sugar? What is carbohydrates? Yeah. So when we look at a carbohydrate, we usually mention like this is my textbook definition. But let me start with that. So carbohydrates are the group of naturally occurring carbonyl compounds, mainly aldehydes and ketones, and that contains several hydroxyl groups. This is OH group, what you mentioned. Right? So the empirical formula is always CH2ON, and this N can have a 6 carbon, we can have a 12 carbon. Basis that we can have a long chain. When we describe the carbohydrates, we describe mainly in terms of like a monosaccharide, like the normal we used as a glucose, fructose, galactose, mannose. They could be all be monosaccharides. Then we have a disaccharides, like the two monomers are attached to that, like a maltose or a lactose. No, or the sucrose. Sucrose is the table sugar, which we refer to. There could be oligosaccharide, where more than 3 or 4 could be attached together. The most common one are raffinose and stacose. And then of course we have polysaccharide, and this could be like a starch or glycogen, no, or cellulose, or so many things are. Fundamentally, when we look at the carbohydrate, come to the sugar, then we talk about sugars, which are like are usually disaccharides or monosaccharides, and they are water soluble, and they have sweet in taste. So we call it the sugar. Sugar is a very broad term we use for it. Yeah. This is some chemical structure of it. I don't want you to get confused on it if you're not from the field. But fundamentally, these are the structures looking like. So when we have a glucose or fructose, they are like single monomers, 6 carbon compound. When we look at, say, sucrose, it could be a 12 carbon compound. Right. So what is the sugar? This sugar I'm referring to a table sugar. Right. When we say sugars, it usually mean could be any hexose or disaccharides or anything. But when we say table sugar, we mean the sucrose or the table sugar or the cane sugar. We refer to it. Right. If you look at the chemical structure, become a glucose and fructose. This is a molecular formula. Right. C12H22O11. This is an empirical formula basically. And this was joined. This term was fundamentally coined by Dr. William, like who mentioned this word first time. And usually the sugar globally is either made from sugarcane or the beetroot. Most in African countries where the sugarcane is not grown, this is made from the beetroot. A sugarcane will have approximately 12% to 14% sugar, where beetroot have only like 6 to 7% sugar. It can also be found from other sorghum or other millets, which also have a small amount of sugar in it. Yeah. So let's see, before going on the sugar replacement or reduction, let's understand what sugar does for our product. So of course, what we all know is the sweetness, right? We all know sweetness, but sugar also does fermentation, right? Sugar also uses a molecule and the yeast break down the sugar, and which can be used for yeast food, and that can be used for fermentation. So the sugar also does fermentation. Sugar also gives the color. So if you see any baked product and you're looking for a cake or muffin, what a darker color or the color you need in the product, which is like mainly cannabis reaction or Maillard reaction, will also come from the sugar. Yeah, of course the taste comes from it. The viscosity. If you look at some, say, a product like a basundi, or could be like a amrakhand, or those products like or shrikhand and all. So it's also that gives the texture or the body to the product. Or your rasgulla and the gulab jamun, they all have a different role of the sugar there. So, and if you look at many other filling products like a tang and other stuff, apart from sweetness, it's also giving a bulkiness. So fundamentally, if you look at sugar, it's not only the sweetness, it's also talking about various other properties. And this is important because when we want to attack the sugar and want to replace the sugar with something else, we need to consider entire value proposition of the sugar. So what sugar is doing in a product, right? So we need to consider everything holistically and then try to replace the sugar. Yeah. So and let's see why sugar is bad. Why people talking so much hullabaloo on the sugar? So what the sugar does? Like if you go and double click on everything, what sugar does or why sugar is wrong. So it says it contributes to anxiety, to depression, to hyperactivity. Yeah, it increases the risk of blood clots in the body, right? It has some, even the incidence of the strokes have been seen of the high sugar consumption. That's the reason we say in the Western world people consume a lot of sugar and there's a lot of bad and obesity and all those problems happen. It also happen on the stroke and fat deposition in the liver because of the sugar can convert it to fat in the body in a biochemistry way or metabolism way. So it's also bad. And it of course causes or a byproduct which we can all lead to the diabetes, weight gain, hypoglycemia, it damages to kidney, damage to tooth. So and virtually like it's only like a type of iceberg. If you look at the sugar, it actually impacts every organ of the body. Yeah. And this is some WHO guidelines which they came that we should reduce the sugar by 10%, and this happened, and it was 5%. This really good thing happened, and there's a lot of data you can find on WHO on the sugar reduction. This is a global scenario, right? Now let's see sugar. Let's see what exactly when we do a sugar reduction. As Sachin was rightly saying, like what triggered me to doing the sugar reduction? Why people are thinking about it, right? So again, going back to fundamental things. So it's corporate responsibility. So any company who is big and had consumed a lot of sugar, they want to reduce the sugar from their product. Right? There's consumer demand. People are getting aware these days and much aware than the earlier days, right? So consumer looking for a product which is less in sugar, and we have some data on that, right? And of course, health and nutrition. Everybody talking about the healthy product and nutritionists and nutrition product, and they all want a product with the low sugar. Earlier, there was a day when people don't used to read the labels. Then people start reading the label and seeing only the manufacturing date and the expiry date. Now people read the sugar. Now people read the labels. Yeah. So regulation become very important here. Suddenly we can have a traffic light where we can see a product with high in sugar will be like can be like be a red color, or a medium sugar can be in yellow color, and we can define in that way. So customer by visual they can know the sugar content. Yeah, this is what FSA is saying today. Aase thoda kam. So like and this goes for high fat, high sugar things, and but fundamentally the first focus is on the sugar, then salt, and could be a fat and trans fat. But yeah, so it's not key. Europe and US talking about it. No, even India is talking about it. Right? FSSI is talking about it. So yeah, so let's go. This is the background of the sugar we're referring to and why sugar is so important. So when we do a replacement for sugar, again thing come to mind. Okay, can I reduce the sugar in the formulation? Okay, or can I look for an alternative? So people usually looking to, okay, if sugar is less, good use kar lete hain, honey use kar lete hain. Those small things people come to mind. Or can I replace sugar and reduce the over ice? Can I reduce my serve size? Right? This is a very small thing way to go. But there are a lot many other things will come in picture after that. Right? So and again when we do this, what gonna we get? So I just made a very small SWOT analysis key. Okay, if I do sugar, what my strength would be, what my weakness would be, and this really helped me to understand, boss, we have to do this. I mean, there's no way we can escape from it, because there are opportunity for the growing market. People are talking about safe and healthy food. People are talking about a clean label, right? And if I don't do, somebody else will do it. So I better do it now. Right? So this give me an opportunity and some also may threat for me to reduce the sugar in my product. Yeah. So let's go on the crux. Let's go some chemistry on sugar replacement, right? So when we use sweetener, and again, now this is like a solution which can be very specific to specific product. We can't have a general word replacement of a sugar substitute which can be go across, and we can anywhere we can use it. So we have to use very focusedly. We have to use the sugar replacement. And how we do it? Something when we're looking at a product, when the weight control is the main focus, right? So here we're looking at no calorie. We don't looking any calorie in the product, right? So then we knew something like a which can just replace the sugar, the sweetness part, the calorie part, and we replace with that. Right? Then we're looking something like a dental care. Then we look at the sugar should not get fermented in the body. For example, I'm having a chewing gum or having a bubble gum or something which remain in mouth for a longer time, right? And that can cover tooth decay or cavities and all. Then we're looking something of substitute for sugar is not fermented in the body, right? We're looking something maybe polyols. We go on that, but something on that which sugar doesn't get fermented. Right? Something I look for my GI index, because if I'm a diabetic and I'm looking, okay, sugar is bad. What I replace I'm doing it. Whatever I'm using it, other ingredients should not have a blood spike, a sugar spike in my blood. Right? So I'm looking more for a low GI product. Right? So again, the replacement, what I'm looking for sugar should not increase my GI in the body. Yeah. And of course, the bottom line cost, which is important everywhere. What the cost of the product should be. Whatever I do so many things, what is the end of payoff for me, right? So then we look at the cost. Considering all those things, we actually go what replacement should we look at? So these are the options for me when you look at sugar replacement. Okay, so sugar, okay, I can use sugar alcohols. Right? So when I say sugar alcohols, what I really mean when we have an alcohol group, it's an organic chemistry part here. On the sugar, we call as a sugar alcohol. So for example, when we have, uh, say, maltose, when we do maltitol, it becomes sugar alcohol, like that. We have alcohol group on the, or the OH group present on the structure of the sugar. So we have sugar alcohols. Then we have something called modified sugars. Then we have artificial sweetness, which can be used, natural calorie sweetness, natural zero calorie sweetness. Look very simple. Perhaps most of you might be aware of this, but let's see what every ingredient really means and how does really means in my product formulation. Okay. So when I say sugar alcohol, they are naturally occurring carbohydrates usually, and they are present sometimes present in the plants and the cereals. And being a carbohydrate, they have a fewer calories because they don't have entire metabolism in the body where can they follow the same the Krebs cycle or the same pathway it follows and get ATP. No, it doesn't follow that. It follow different routes, different metabolism pathway in the body. So ultimately the calorie release from the sugar alcohol is not zero, but it's much lesser. So when sugar can give you 4 calorie, the sugar alcohol can give you something like a zero for ethanol. It could be like two for mostly a xylitol and other things, and you can also go to three for someone or some other sugar alcohols. Right? So again, basis what I am really requiring, I'll be using that. And again, if you look at the sweetness of this, all of the sugar alcohol will vary from something from zero point 0.5 to say 0.9 compared to sucrose. So like modified sugar, like we always heard like this word, ki, this modified sugar, and people, and I've seen this customer asking sometime, ki, what does really mean by that? So any sugar we can produce by starch. We know starch is a, like we understand in the first go, the starch is a polymer of the say glucose unit, and when we break down this starch or the polymer into single units or simpler units by some dextrins, right, we can produce by dextrins with that, and those could be a little sweet or could be a little sugary taste to us. And this we can use like the example could be like a caramel or could be a golden syrup or invert syrup or glucose syrup. They're all example of that. So when a glucose syrup, it could be a 42 DE. When we say in a golden syrup would be like 82 DE. Glucose syrup would be some 42 DE, right? High fructose corn syrup, like for example, like you might have heard like high fructose corn syrup is actually not a clean label product in US and other countries, because although it look like a modified sugar, there's no technically there is no added sugar, but this is very high GI. This is as sweet as sugar or maybe more than that. Go to 1.2 sweetness than the sugar. Right? So basis that we need to really check where I'm using it and how am I using it, right? Because this will all these modified sugar will have high glycemic index in the product. So let's say natural calorie sweetness. So these are again I'll be using these ingredients when I'm not concerned about the calorie, but I'm concerned about the overall taste. I don't want sugarness in the product, but I want to replace the sugar by some other natural calorie sweetness. Usually the honey and maple syrup are widely used. When we say US and Canada, the North America, we go more for maple syrup. When we look more for tropical or the Asian countries, we go for more for a honey. Yeah. So they also are nutritive sweetness because they give calorie. They give as much calorie as the sugar would be, but completely they have a low glycemic index compared to sugar. Now this is debatable. It won't be like of 100, but they're less than 100. Could be 80, could be go to 70, depending on the composition of the ingredient we are looking at. Yeah. Because the other example, which is popular mainly in India, or put it like a coconut sugar or the sorghum syrup, which we refer to, they all are the part of the natural caloric sweetness. So they are sweet, but they are natural way, but they give calories. So then what are zero natural calorie sweetness? So these are the ingredient which give us sweetness, right? But and they will give intense sweetness, but they don't have any calorie. The most example would be like a stevia or thaumatin is like a plant extract mainly grown in South America on the Peru side. Then we have a monk fruit getting popular these days, coming from China and Southeast Asia. So these are examples where we can have intense sweetness. So stevia could be something like 500 to 600 times sweeter than the sucrose, and they are natural. When I say natural, this is not is the source of the ingredient is a plant. So stevia like is a plant. Thaumatin come from a tree. Like a monk fruit is again a fruit, which is popularly grown. So they all come from the natural way of doing it, and it's again become important for us because when we label a product, we can mention them as a natural sweetener. Right? And then there's no negative impact come on the product. There's no regulation which says that we need to mention something on the label because we are natural sweeteners. Yeah. So so then what artificial sweetness? So artificial sweeteners, which are people like usually we use and we knowing from the 50 years plus would be like saccharin. Then the generation happened and saccharin was actually replaced by say aspartame or replaced by S-sulfur potassium or the neotame. right? So these are all artificial sweetness. So these are the like synthesis molecules. They resemble the taste and the taste like or profile like they look like a sugar, and they're intense sweetener. So if you like a neotame is almost like 8,000 to 10,000 times sweeter than the sugar. Saccharin would be approximately 500 times. Aspartame would be like 200 times. So like sucrose again could be from 500 to 600 times sweeter than the sugar, but they all have artificial sweetener label. So when we put on the label from regulation, we need to mention that okay, I'm adding artificial sweetener. They are not for the kids because kids have a different metabolism in the body. So we need to mention that on the label very clearly, and the tagline come along with that when we use these sweeteners. Yeah. So again, going back now, so what really make me to select my composition? So there is no the solution, but we can look at the possible solutions or the way to reach to the problem, right? So when we look at consumer perception, again, we look at health and nutrition, we look at calorie, glycemic index, like the source of origin, what people are looking at. Are they looking very clean label? Are they focused more on calorie? Are they focused on glycemic index? What consumer looking at? Then again, we use our sugar possibilities, like all sugar replacement we can use there. Again, formulation. Again, when we do a formulation. So when any food company or any R&D person, when they actually start working on the formulation, they will look like okay, what attribute I'm looking at here. Okay, is my sugar again going for a bread? Again, is going for a beverage? Is for what purpose? It's going only sweetness. It's going for a color. Okay, can I get color from some other source? Right? Can I put a caramel color, a natural color, and I can still get a sugar which can give a color and which come from the color part, and I can sweetness, I can use stevia, something like that. So a mix and match, a combination going to have here. And when again we do make a product, the acid test happen with the business or with the customer. We need to look for a sensory. Like when moment we change the sugar and replace with something else, it's going to be a tough job. So we need to ensure the sensory is okay. Is any metallic effect happening in the product, or is a lingering sugar effect in the product? Right? What I'm getting the problem here, and I'm making a legal claim. What I'm making it, am I getting a very clean label, a clean statement on the sugar on the label? What I'm getting it, and when I position my product, I need to consider for the sugar part. Because customer going to ask me on the sugar. So again, I will consider this my positioning, and again go back what I missed here in the formulation. So here are some popular sugars which we've seen the last time, and now we see their sweetness profile, and we again see the example here. So when we say sugar family, I mean here all the fructose, dextrose, no high fructose corn syrup, they will be used, right? And how the profile could be. So they are like they give a sweetness, it comes and it goes, right? So when we have a sugar, moment sugar is on tongue, the tongue receptors get the sweetness, go to the brain, is a sweet, okay, and then by the time we do that, the sugar just go and we gulp the sugar. So it's a very clean taste happen on the sugar. Yeah. And we get rapid taste. We don't have to wait for the sugar to come. Moment we put in the tongue, we get a sugar. Same go for the dextrose and fructose. The intensity can different, but they have similar range. No, okay, let's go on the polyols. When we say all this xylitol, maltitol, what happened on those? So they also have a very similar clean taste, right? They have a less sweetness than the sugar, but we can perceive as a less sweet than same molecule, same ingredient, same weight by weight. If we take it, we found less sweet. Right? When we see the high intensity sweetness, right, they usually have a very strong taste. So for sucralose, aspartame, or neotame, and all this, when you look at artificial sweetness, they have very intense taste. Like the dosage would be like something goes in a ppm. For example, when you say 500 times sweeter than sugar, it means if I take a 500 gram of sugar, I need to take 1 gram of this ingredient. Right? So when I want to use in a product, I'm gonna dilute that in product in such a way that I get equivalent sweetness of the product. And even after doing that, we understand this. They have some off taste, they will have some metallic taste, there's some bitter notes. Yeah. And sweetness can vary sometimes. Like sometimes usually it comes in a smell, the taste would be more high. Right? If it is a powder, the powder comes to your nose and the sweetness really like is a lingering sweetness. So again, we have to consider those. Then again, the most commonly used these days, and one of my favorite is all soluble dietary fibers. So here these are usually used example like a FOS or a gauze. So these are example the fructooligosaccharides. Yeah, so these are an example here. They are much cleaner taste. Yeah, they have a shorter duration in the tongue, and they have a less sweet than the sugar. So by some combination, we can actually think what we can go. Again, in the soluble dietary fibers like all the FOS, and we can also give a claim of a dietary fiber in the product. And again, they are less sweet, maybe like but they are less calorie, approximately like 2 calories per gram they can offer. So this is again and a sugar table on the sweetness perspective. So like let's see the one is a sugar. So I'm assuming sugar as a one, then where we are and how we consider that. So all the things in the on less than one, it's like a lot more of like a log scale. So something like less than one, they all are the ingredient which are less sweet than sugar. So it could be glucose syrup, or sorbitol, they could be here. And all the ingredients like more than one are intense sweetness like that. So all this sucrose and thaumatin or aspartame come like 100 times or 500 times or 1000 times sweeter than sugar. Yeah. This again, I want to understand, like this again be critical to understand the sweetness profile and the sharp peak they give in a product. So for example, when we say fructose is more sweeter than sucrose. You can see the blue, the pale blue line is for sucrose. Now if you see the fructose is more sweeter than sugar. That's number one. So when sugar is one, fructose will be like 1.2. And it give more intense, like moment you touch that, like keep in the mouth, it give her like a, a stark sweetness. Right? So fructose is more sweeter and more impactful sweetener than the sugar. So when we replace sugar by say sucrose, by fructose, to consider that point in mind. Right? When we use the glucose, it is less sweeter than the sugar, 0.6 times than the sugar, but it has a similar profile like the sugar. Yeah. So this also critically really happens. Now, again, sometimes it may happen that we may again think, okay, I'm making a product, but it's not to be room temperature. I'm making a product which can be eaten different temperature. I'm making a tea. I'm not drinking tea at room temperature. I'm drinking my tea at say 72, 75 degrees centigrade. Right? So for me, the sweetness will depend actually on the point of the consumption. Or could be I'm having a beverage which is like I'm drinking it at 4 degrees centigrade. So how the sweetness really varies with the temperature. So they also become very, very critical to understand. So we have a different sweetness laid down and how the sweetness also changes in a product based on the temperature. So even this is a point to consider. So it's going to complex, but we have a solution to do it. The more we understand, the more closer to the problem solution we are. Yeah. This one wonderful study happened with one of the scientists in Norway, and what they have done, they have made a solution like a 10% solution for the sugar and equivalent solution for different of sugars here. So they taken like sweeteners and they taken the polyols, what we discussed earlier. They taken a lot like some 15 plus product they have taken it. They make a solution like with equivalent sweetness of all, and they made a like with the mini tab they done a statistical analysis, and they really found out, okay, what is a good combination we can look at, or what a possible thing we look at, or something which is like should not be used like in a product. So let's look at the sugar here molecule. When I say sugar, the bitterness is minimal. It's like 0.2 something here, and sugar doesn't have any metallic taste, so I'm just putting a letter of 1.3. So what I'm looking at here in this case, I'm looking something which has a bitter aftertaste and metallic taste very close to sugar. So very easily we can go, okay, sucralose very close to me, and then okay, sorbitol is also a little close to me. Then I look at something 0.3, maltitol is very close to me. So we can look at these are the ingredients which are like very closer to sugar. Maybe xylitol also closer to sugar in terms of bitterness. So when I look at metallic aftertaste, I again look at, okay, xylitol and sugar are very similar. They both are 1.3. Okay, a good match. We can look at that. We can also look at sucralose. Okay, a good match. Not that bad. It's 5.1. Not that bad. Then we also find mannitol is also like 3.4, not that far away. And of course, maltitol. So when I look at these things, they are very close to me compared to, say, I'm using something like say stevia or other things which are very intense sweeter than that. So this is, or could be we can use it, but I have to use differently then. And so again, when you look at this data, we can actually think what is close to sugar and what can be used here. They also make some mixture here, and when they say mixture, they actually put some solution, some premix like a mix of a sugar and allulose, and they want to like allulose a type of a hexose sugar. They mix both of them and they found what is the combination effect happened for that, and they were also very close to the sugar. So the whole answer we getting it by using the combination of different ingredients, and of course my endpoint what I'm looking at, we can get some match. Yeah. So, but again, is it only enough for me? So let's see the sweetness index again. I'm just going to this session. I'm again double clicking here, and I'm going what thing I need to check here. So when I check the polyol, I know I compare with that. So I've taken all the heroes from the all the winners from here. If this is my like a quarterfinal round, I'm checking here and think whatever good for me, I'm taking it here. So I'm taking it all the xylitol or maltitol, erythritol, sorbitol, whatever I think is the good. I can check those and I can say, okay, these polyols are good for me. I can use those. They have a similar sweetness or close the sweetness to sugar, close the bitterness to sugar, low metallic taste. Can I use that? Okay, so it looks very positive, look very thin. Then suddenly I look at a heat of solutions. This really means when I make a solution, when I make a 10% solution. So I take this powder and I put in a water and I make a solution. So when we say when I make this solution, we call it heat of solution when we make, we really found erythritol, xylitol, they give very cooling to the product. Suddenly I feel very coolness in the product, right? So for example, when you say when I'm making a chewing gum, I'm making an ice cream, I'm making a beverage, it's fine. But if I don't want to make a tea with that, no, I don't want my tea to be having coolingness. I want my to be hot. Or I'm making something else and I'm making a bread, I'm making a muffin. I don't want to make a muffin to be look very like cooling and like a mentholy note in my product. We don't want that, right? So for example, the whole point of sharing this data and understanding is okay, some product is good for particular product. So when I'm using a beverage and ice cream, I can use erythritol, I can use xylitol, whereas maltitol. But when I'm making say an bar where I don't want any sweetness, I may not use those. Right? Or something when I use some other ingredient, I'm making a bakery, I don't use this ingredient. Right? Even they are good, even they are like less metallic taste, but they have another problem. So every replacement will have some or other problem, and then we look at how can we have a trade-off on every ingredient what we are using it. So this is an example. This is an arbitrary example. We say we have an intensity sweetness and we have a time period. We've plotted this graph. So we have seen. So if you see the blue color is a soluble dietary fiber, like the phos or the gauze. We can take an example. Then we have something like a sugar, which we mentioned like in the black color. Then we have polyols, which we see in the xylitol, maltitol, the example, which is like more in orangish color. And then we have all in high intensity sweetness in a red color. And then suddenly found like okay, they all have a different sweetness. These are more relative words, they're not in same scale, they may be log scale. So we see like this is the different scale of the data we're looking at. Now the whole idea is we want to replace the sugar and closer to sugar, which means the only way possible, or the one of the possible, I won't say the only way, is possible when we have a combination of all. So when you use a combination of say phos, combination of the polyols, and combination of high intensity sweeteners, we can go closer to the sugar. And thanks to the Tata guys, they have shared me this slide. It's courtesy for them. I must thank you for them. So this has really happened here. So again, the whole thing comes is a combination which really works here in a product. Yeah. Now let's see what the market is saying about it. So perhaps many people know about it, but let's see what other MNC are talking about the same problem. Yeah. So this was some data when you Google out and think, and we found, okay, what people are claiming about, right? So when like say Firmenich, like a big flavor house, and how they have a solution on sugar. Jivdan is talking about some solution on the sugar, right? New all trends of the looking at the new trend when we look at any food product, they're talking about sugar or a plant-based and with the sugar something. So it's visibly across globe. We can see it here again. Yeah. These are some examples which I want to quote with the bigger guys. Say what Nestle, what they have done for their product and 30% less sugar. And I also try to understand, okay, what they have done it here, how they have replaced the sugar here, and how they are replacing it. So we can actually go an example and see the label and how differently they have done. So all these examples are just to understand, okay, big guys are doing it. Okay, I know it. We heard about that. But yes, what they are doing it, how they are replacing it, right? So when you look at, say, this granola product, they're replacing sugar with some fruit sugar. Right? So they're doing something differently, replacing it. And every solution and every product is different. Right? So this again an example here, which is like a very famous beverage in Asia Pacific region and of course in UK is the Vitabix, and they say even these product, which is like such a famous product and everyone using it from their like childhood days, like popular from 60s to 70s, and even now, even those are talking about sugar, and they have done differently. So they have reduced the sugar directly, or they are using something else in the sugar. So my whole idea is when we work on the product, we actually look at this product, look at this data, and then you see, okay, what they have done before and what they've done now. So how differently or what thing they have replaced in the possible replace in the formulation and come to this solution. And whatever our product is, we can have a similar analogy for those products and we can look at a solution for them. Yeah. Now these are some categories on sugar. And earlier we might think, okay, sugar related claims are only important for the beverage or somewhere where a lot of sugar is being used. Actually not. So even for the product like a dairy or a sauce or sauce and seasoning or even the snacks, all these products are having a sugar and people are talking about sugar reduction on the product. I even heard people coming to us and talking, we have a mayo and mayo some contain some amount of SMP and some amount of sugar, can we replace that? Yeah. So it's not only for the desert, it's going everywhere. This again some example here, again, say from CSD side and what people are doing it and how they are replacing it. And one really thing important here and is a constant evolving. So it's not key, okay, we have done something then and we are not doing it. No, it's a constant evolution. So every company had done some sugar replacement, and when the new technology comes, new ingredients comes, they constantly reformulate the product and make it more clear taste for every product they do. Yeah. So again, it's example for the say dairy milk, how they have come with a 30% less sugar in a product, and we can see like all other claims apart from the sugar, what possible, and this is added with the sugar. So people talk about a claim like no additives or no preservatives or gluten free or organic. As you're talking about the earlier speaker also talking about organic and blockchain, we also think of those and again plug with the sugar. So it again important here. Yeah. These are some specific Indian products, but usually we always talk कि okay सब कुछ US में हो रहा है, Europe में हो रहा है, India में क्या हो रहा है. So we've always seen कि no, it's a global phenomenon which happening in US and Europe is going to happen today or tomorrow in India. So we see all the flagship product which you and me eat every day or like which have in our home. So be an Amul or could be an ITC biscuit or a dairy milk. They all have a low sugar here. Right? They all have a low sugar version. Everyone is talking about low sugar in India, and all have a different application. Again, if you look at the sugar replacement in Amul with a sugar-free product would be different for say making something like a jam, and what they have used something very different than the biscuit here. Yeah. Why about that? How about startup companies? So all the startup companies which you see like in India, they also have like a no sugar or low sugar claim. By the way, we made all this product for our customer. Like, and I just want to highlight here, okay, even startup companies are talking about these products. So our own experience when we make say a Noto, when we make an ice cream, we use a different sugar combination in mind, like keeping that thing in mind. When I make a potion which is like a functional beverage, we have a different sweetener combination in mind. Or when I make something like a lactobite, which is like India's first lactation bar, there's no sugar, no preservative. We use different combination altogether. So again, the whole crux is like, which again I'm just want to highlight again and again, so it's not missed out. We don't have one single solution for sugar. We have a multiple solution and we have a multiple options, and multiple options depend on the different products. For the protein powder is different, for the bar is different, for the juice may be different. We can have similar ingredients, but all different ingredients, combination and dosage will vary. Yeah. There's some interesting thing which I want to highlight, and this is some of the consumer perception about the sugar. I thought when you're talking about sugar and chemistry, we should not leave out what customers say, right? So this is some interesting data which I found, and I want to highlight. And I may not agree, but this is what people really say. People say like what diet they have changing, or what sugar is going to impact them. So many people say they are limiting the sugar, so they think we don't take sugar. Yeah, I take 2 cup of tea. I take only one cup of tea these days, or I add only half of the sugar what I used to add earlier, right? Or say I'm eating more fruits in my product, right? Some are eating less carb and more protein in my product. So people have their own way at home which they can think of replacing sugar, and people are actually doing at home, which again means which again I again take this positive thing. Okay, they are doing this for the raw product or the basic unprocessed product, but for process, they need to come to us or the processor industry. And again, it's become a critical or important for us. Yeah. Or what people again here comes some consumer action, what people have done to limit the sugar, right? So people have, and this was some survey done in US mainly. And then what they say like, okay, I am drinking like less of the amount of the caloric sweetness. I'm not drinking like any sodas these days, or I'm not eating particular beverage which where I am aware of is a high sugar, and I'm reducing my total carbs with my product, right? I'm no longer using a table sugar. So and my habit of adding sugar and everything, I'm not doing that. So these trends are happening, and consumer getting more and more aware, which again mean we need to be more and more cautious when we make a product. Yeah. This interesting reason I found that people reason for not using sugar, right? And again, it come to for example more for a low or no calorie sweetener, right? And what people think when they do sugar or use less sugar, what really happened to them? So then when I think the sugar is unhealthy, they see people help me to lose my weight if I don't use sugar. Yeah, I don't get extra calories. No idea what I feel in the sugar is so deep down these days. Like even adolescent kid of say 10 years and 12 years, he's also talking about a low sugar in a product. It's not only for everybody. Like even in an adult consumer, uh, maybe genetic people, they're also talking about low sugar in a product. Yeah. this one interesting data which I found for not using low or no calorie sweetness. Is again similar pattern it goes. I think I'm short of time. I just want to ensure we cover most of the point here. Oh yeah, that's it. That's only from my side. And yeah, thank you so much, and thank you FST, and thank you FI for giving me opportunity to speak on the sugar reduction. Thank you.
Fantastic, Ritesh. I think this has been like at first, I mean, it looked like, from a market perspective, consumer perspective, to a chemistry class from, various options. It was really a fantastic presentation. So, are we okay? Are we good to go for question answer session?
Uh, yes, so we are good to go. So I have a few couple of questions. Maybe we can take them before we have the next speaker, or we wait for the next speaker. So
Please.
Sure.
the first question is, can you enlighten on licorice as sweetener? So if you have covered that, that's fine. But if you want to just throw some light on that.
Sure. So I've not covered licorice here as a sweetener, but licorice can be used as a sweetener. But again, licorice also come with its own good or bad property in it. It have a lot of a lingering taste. The moment you take the licorice, you always feel, oh, I'm getting like a lot of sweetness in the mouth. So again, a product which can have those sweetness acceptable, we can use there. It is widely used for toothpaste and other product. It can also be used for some chewing gums. We can use there. But for example, when I'm using a candy, I'm still okay with that sweetness. But licorice come with that the mintiness in the product, and not the mintiness, but you give the cooliness in the product. So again, I will use licorice very subjective to the my end product formulation. Yeah, but it can be used. I'm not denying it can be used.
Um, we also have another question, so maybe we can quickly take that question also. So,
Sure.
is sugar-free really sugar-free of sugar having zero glycemic index, zero carbs, and zero calorie?
See, all are different claims. Now, if you look at technical perspective of the things, they all are different, right? There are a lot of misconception about the sugar. Let me go on every point which the question came. So when I say sugar-free, let's say a zero calorie or a zero carb, they both are different. Zero calorie is different, zero carb is different. So when I'm replacing sugar with say xylitol, I'm using or replacing sugar with a phos, I'm getting some calories here. I'm not making a zero calorie product. So for me, it really important what the end point I'm looking at. Am I making something which is like a low glycemic index? Okay, then I don't use any of the thing which will give me any of the GI impact in the body. So I'm okay to use stevia or sucralose or something else which won't give me a sharp spike in the body. But then I won't be using for those places I won't using honey or maple syrup there or something where I'm not worried about the my GI. I'm worrying only about my only the sweetness part. I'll be using stevia, or I using maybe combination of different ingredient here could be possible. So again, sir, the whole idea is they all are different. They all are different defined words. And as a defined word, they all have own meaning of that. So calorie, zero calorie is a different word. No sugar, no added sugar is a different word. Content naturally adding sugar, which we use in the regulations, is a different word. Yeah, so they all are defined word. We can't have a one word and giving answer a blanket statement for all. So basis the need, we define the product.
We have definitely have a lot of questions coming in, so we can take one more question. So, what is the best replacement of sugar in syrup? Something like example rose syrup. So, could you suggest something?
Sure. If I understand it closely, they're looking at rose syrup like something like a ruafza, if I consider that as an example. Yes, if you want to replace sugar, there are a couple of options. So let's understand. This is really help to understand other answers too. So when we take a syrup, okay, I'm looking at some body in a syrup. I can't have only water. I can't have a water in stevia and or some sweetener. I need a body here. Okay, so I'm looking some viscosity in the product because when I take a sherbet, I want some viscosity. I want some consistency. I don't want watery syrup, right? So or watery in my end product. So I'm looking at some bulking here. Okay, number one point. I want some sweetness. Okay, so I'm looking for some artificial sweetness. I can't be able to use honey or maple syrup here because they have own specific taste. So I can't use those because I'm looking for sugar free. Perhaps they might be looking at an option of the low GI index in the product. So again, the combination comes, I use a combination of other ingredients. I may use a water, I may use, say, FOS, a fructooligosaccharides, for example. I can use, say, stevia, I can use some sucralose or some other sweetness which can give me strength, sweetness to the product. I also use some binding, because by doing all those, I may not get a good binding. I may not get a good viscosity in the product. So I need to add something as I need to get me the viscosity in the product. So again, by 3-4 different combination, we'll be using it, right? And if there is not a concern on the other point, we can also use polyols here, because when I say a rose, I'm looking for a coolingness in the product, right? So again, something like when you mentioned about the licorice or something more about a coolingness like a xylitol can also be used here. It again really think what claims you're looking at a product. Second, my own example, when we work with any other customer or with any other project, we always ask the first question: what is the end claim you're looking at a product? So, and whom you're targeting this product, or share me the target, and we can really think what possible claims we can make on a product. So these are possible options can be used, and all put together will give you a product.
We can take one more question if you're fine. So,
Sure,
stevia,
sure.
yeah. So,
Love
stevia
to.
is good for every age group. And also, what about taste maskers with it?
Great. Yeah, stevia is a very clean product. It comes with natural sweetness as far the FSA regulations and even international regulations are concerned. So when I say it's a clean label and as a natural, so which really means it can be used across the age groups. So when a person from like 3+ years, because till 2 we say infant, some 3+ years till genetic population, we can use stevia. Not a concern. So far, with the limited knowledge, I understand there is no side effect of the stevia coming in a product. So stevia can be used. Yes, it's a good tick mark here. Can be used. Uh, and sorry, I missed. What was the second question you mentioned? There were two things you mentioned in the question.
The second, what about taste maskers with it?
Sure. So taste masker are widely used, and most of the good flavor houses they have some taste masker. So taste masker usually modify the entire taste, and taste is very complex chemistry actually. If you go and double click on the taste chemistry, is really complex, and we have to really understand what is giving me that taste and how can I really block that off taste in the product. Yeah. So if you look at a little of the chemistry of those things, so what happened in certain cases, it's again not a blanket statement. What happened? There's certain bitterness in the product, and this bitterness actually usually having some molecular structure, and we also on the tongue we have some molecular structure. So this like a substrate and enzyme. How we have a key and we have a key and we have a substrate. How we mention the enzyme reaction, like every lock has a key. So those we have, or we see these days we are seeing on the PCR on COVID thing. We understand like okay, every reaction has a substrate or any antigen and antibody reaction. Similar thing happen in our body. Analogy wise, right? So we have some bitter component in the body which can impact on our tongue, and tongue also have a similar structure that give bitterness to the product, right? Or what happens when we use this bitter masker? They work in various fashions, right? The one of the bitter masker will work. Okay, they will block those bitterness compound in the product, right? So we won't get a bitterness in the product, right? They will block something bitterness compound on our tongue. So our taste bud on the tongue, like behind the back of the tongue, which give bitterness. Those are the block. Right? Those are blocked. Something the lingering taste we get in the product or the metallic taste, those particular bonds which are exposed are blocked. Right? If you are getting say any bitterness from say an amino acid or say hydrolyzate, something from those we are getting it, those get also get blocked. So all the chains we understand key for me and understanding for every question is to understand why I'm getting it. Where is the Gangotri? Like I always say, okay, kahan se shuru ho raha hai? So that need to be taken care. That thing need to be blocked, and then everything goes well. Right? So again, bitter masker or the maskers work in similar fashion, and we can't have one masker across the category. We have a masker for different product. A masker I'm using for say for example a whey protein would be different masker, and a masker I'm using for say beverage with different masker. So again, I'm looking at what bond getting exposed or what molecule getting exposed, what is giving bitterness in the product. Right? So basis that I will design my bitter masker. Hope that helps.
Yeah. We also have a follow-up question to that. So, is there any negative effects of stevia when consumed for a longer time?
A very good question. So far, there is no data on it, and people have done studies. So let me very honestly say, people have done doing the studies on the stevia, and there are no long. So far, as of today, there are no negative impact of the stevia. This was similar for the case for the I can say sucralose. When sucralose came in picture, In early 2000, those years when the Titan Lane, Splenda, like those come in the picture, they were very clean that time. And over a period of time, people done some research and some more things, and now we're getting a very mixed review on those products. So I won't say all negative; they are still positive. They're still using it. They're still safe to consume, but still we get some research coming on the sucralose, or say aspartame or saccharin in this case. So when you look at this, the whole research is evolving. If you look at me 60s, like if you say 1960s and 1970s, before you were born, the second was most popularly used at many places. Then second was become bad. Then people talking about the next generation could be the self-importation and other thing we're talking about. Or late 90s, aspartame was a big hit. Right? So every generation we have seen some or other sweetener, and people did a lot of research on that, and in a long term and short term, and the chronic and non-chronic, and possible dosages, and this risk analysis all done on ingredients. But even today, if you ask me today, as on today, stevia is one of the most safe ingredient to be used.
Okay. Also, one more question if we can take. Liquid FOS or maltitol with sucralose will help for syrup. Is that right?
Yeah, it can help us set up. Yes. See, I won't say it's the solution, but we do some trials and understand what is working for me and what is not working for me. Right. So when we say a setup, yes, maltitol should work. And if you add some stevia something or sucralose something, that should also work. But again, understand like need to consider one more point. If somebody from the industry asking this question, I would sincerely request them to look at the label claim you're looking at. Now, for example, if you're looking at a label claim and you're targeting your product to an elderly people, or targeting your people to the say a young crowd, then it will be different thing altogether. For example, if you're talking about say for kids, then have a different thing. So for kids less than 12 years, I would recommend don't use for sucralose or artificial sweetness. Go for natural sweetness. Okay, I have a solution here. But when you're looking for something like a geriatric, and the person is, or any adult person, I would say, and he's using some polyols like a xylitol, as he was saying, or they're saying, then be cautious. The xylitol is and again come with a regulatory claim, like if we consume too much of this polyols, we can have a laxative effect. So ensure on the label or on the packet we mention that okay, don't consume more than 10 to 15 gram of the product. If you consume more, it has laxative effect. So again, like it's not that we are taking rose ka sharbat subah sham and every time we having that we can go to bathroom like very fast. So again, be very cautious on the label claim of the product.
Um, in fact, we have a lot of questions coming in, so
I think
maybe
we can continue with the questions because Dr. Samrat
yeah.
is finding it a
Please.
little challenging. He's trying to log in, so we can
Okay.
have some couple of questions.
More great. So I'll read out the next question.
Sure.
So, as per FSSAI guidelines, which sweeteners are considered to be natural? Could you
Sweetness.
be
Okay.
natural?
So if you look at intensity sweetness, yeah, stevia is one of the intensity
Okay.
sweetener, which is a natural sweetener in that category. Honey is also considered that, but honey come with a calorie and GI. Stevia doesn't come with the GI and calorie.
Okay. Also, yes, so the next question is, if a person not diabetic and looking for sugar reduced product, which option is better, fructose or honey versus stevia? Fructose slash honey versus stevia, which option is better?
If person is not diabetic,
Yeah,
okay, very good. So no worry on the GI.
and
And if
looking
you
for
want to replace sugar,
reduce the sugar. Yeah. So which
oh sure,
option is
then he has a lot of options.
okay?
Then he has a lot of options. So again, I will request the gentleman again look at the label concern. These two are not enough. You need to really define. Sorry, I'm asking question whether I give an answer to you because I don't want to give a wrong answer to you. So again, when you're replacing only sugar, I understand the GI what you consider here. Also look at the claim. Any negative claim come with that. Right? So of course, both options can be looked. You can look at a FOS, you can look at a photooligosaccharides and the stevia combination. If the cost is a concern, you can go to the sucralose, the combination. You can use the polyols and sucralose combination together in a product, and both won't enhance the GI in a product. So again, look at product mix and then come to the solution.
So, do you think Ritesh, for such kind of thing, just reducing the intake of sugar would be the right choice?
This is exactly I found what people are doing it. वो होता नहीं है. People want to have sugar, like 80% of the Indian population have a sweet tooth, so it's difficult to go. But my thing is, we have a solution. The only thing is not solution for everybody. We can't have one tablet for every like medicine, like or every
Absolutely.
disease. Like, yeah, we can have like different medicine for different problems. It's like that.
Uh, Great. We have one more question.
Good.
As per FSSAI, can FOS be used as bulking agent in sugar-free claim?
Yes, FOs can be used for the bulking agent, but the only thing
Yeah.
FOs also have a regulation that we cannot consume more than some 10-15 grams. Can be confirmed to you what the actual claim, but we cannot use lot of quantity. We can still use only in limited quantity. We cannot use more than 10 or 12 grams something per serve. The dosage is limited to that. So when I say bulking, I don't want to use something saying, okay, I'm using in a beverage and I'm drinking like 200 ml of beverage and I'm consuming 200 ml of the fast. We cannot do that. We should not do that. Like,
Yeah. Great. So I can see our next speaker is already here. So can we just take the final question which we have? So as per recent FSSAI draft, stevia is considered in artificial segment. Can you please clarify on that if that is the case?
no, that is not the case. Stevia still is a natural sweetener. It comes in a natural category.
Okay.
I don't know where this people have seen this particular draft.
Yeah.
I would request to see them again. It's a natural sweetness. The only natural intensity sweetness so far is only stevia. All other intensity sweetness like a sucralose, aspartame, or sulfur potassium, neotame, they all comes in artificial category.
Great. Chinmay, do you want to move on by summarizing the session and then moving on to the next speaker? Yeah.
Sure. So it has been really helpful, Ritesh, in understanding the options for sugar reductions and its application and functionality in various products. So thank you so much for your insights and especially the enlightening answers. I saw like people have been really enthusiastic in terms of identifying different solutions, and it's a competitive world, so we need to be ahead of the market, but at the same time keeping health and regulatory aspects in mind. Thank you so much for your presentation. So we move on to our next topic, which is on vegan food. And I remember about 10 years back when somewhere I think in US, I was like, someone told me, I'm a vegan. And we in India were used to being vegetarians. So I had reached, are you vegetarians? I'm vegan. And that time, vegan word was kind of not so popular at all. So just like how we had sugar replacement, so vegan is the next hot topic coming up, and especially this pandemic has resulted into a high demand for plant-based products, and everyone is looking at having a vegan in their kitty. So we have next speaker Dr. Samrat Verma, who is the managing director with Krishna Enzitech Private Limited, and it's also director with Prosents Private Limited India. He has done a doctorate in business management from Central America, Panama. His main role is focused on production and marketing of natural enzymes, papain and bromelain, proteins, and lactomedia ingredients. Under his leadership, the company has expanded into 28 countries, offering jobs to almost 4,800 people directly or indirectly. He is recipient of the Dr. APJ Kalam Professional Excellence Award in 2018, as well as Hind Ratnam Award in 2019. And under his leadership, his company has received International Gold Star Award in Dubai. So it's something that the topic is of interest to all of us. So over to you, Dr. Samra.
Yes. So is everything okay, right? Yeah. Yeah. So I introduce myself as Samrat, Dr. Samrat. I am director of Krishna Enzitech Limited and also director of Proteozymes. Yeah. So today I'm going to share my ideas and my thoughts on the vegan protein, which is the next big thing in India. And we are encouraging people to use vegan protein. And today I will be explaining everything about vegan protein. So our first thing will be what and why vegan protein. I will be explaining about vegan protein completely and the future of vegan protein in India. Secondly, we will be discussing about is market research of vegan protein. Thirdly, we'll be talking about current market of vegan protein. Fourth, we'll be seeing the challenges what we are facing in vegan protein as compared to the most running protein, that is whey protein in India. Fourth, we'll be talking about the vegan protein, its types, and the benefits of health in vegan protein. Yeah, so to introduce myself firstly to all of you, I'm the managing director of Krishna Enzitech Private Limited. I'm also director of Proteozymes, which is focused on enzymes and some bacteriomedia ingredients like peptones and protein hydrolysates. We are manufacturing this product since last 61 years, and I'm the third generation looking after the business. I have done my PhD in business management from Central America, Panama University, and I have also completed my B Pharmacy as a graduation. My main role is into production and marketing of natural enzymes like papain and bromelain, some proteins, and bacteriomedia ingredients. I also received awards like Hind Ratan in 2019 by Honorable Prime Minister, and also Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Professional Excellence, and awarded by International Gold Star in Dubai. My leadership has led this group to export our product into 28 countries, and we are the fastest growing company in India for protein and natural enzymes. So this is what was a short description about me. So coming back to the first point, that what and why vegan protein. So as I told you, vegan protein is the next big thing because already in India, there are many vegan people who will always prefer vegetarian product as compared to non-vegetarians. So vegan protein is very simple protein derived from plant-based sources like peas, green peas, rice, and soya. And vegan protein is getting very popular in protein boost and supporting your muscle and gym training. The main benefits of vegan protein is that it will give you improved digestion. Some people, they are having issues whey tolerance, they are not able to digest whey in complete form, and due to which they are facing stomach bloating and all these things. So vegan protein is a main thing what they can shift to if they are having issues with whey. As I told you that vegan protein will give you improved digestions because it is completely from natural sources like from vegetables, from legumes, grains, nuts, and it will give you better absorption in body because it is very easily digestible as compared to whey and other proteins. It will also reduce the symptoms of gas and bloating, as I told earlier. It will, and the second benefit of vegan protein is metabolism booster. So vegan protein will also boost your metabolism, which will keep you more active, and it will help you burn extra fat of your body. Third benefit of vegan protein is cardiovascular health. So this has very high absorption power, as I told you in point number one. This has very high absorption, due to which it has very low cholesterol and saturated fats. and it is completely the best one what we can offer, like the vegan protein. Point for vegan protein is this is like with full of vitamin and mineral, which is very essential for your health as compared to other proteins available in market. The main and fifth point is this has adequate level of 9 essential amino acids, which is mainly required for your health to give you boost in your activeness. Yeah. So the third point we will be talking about is market research of vegan protein. As you can see from the graph, currently the overall vegan protein market is of 10.3 US billion dollar, and by next 5 years it will be increasing up to 14.5 billion dollar. So that means a sharp rise of 7.1%. The main consumption of vegan protein is into Asia Pacific. As I said, the CAGR of 7.1% can be seen in the forecast. And the most famous vegan protein is pea protein, which is going into the food industries. And what we can see is the protein, especially the vegan protein, has grew almost 50% in the year 2017 to 18, and it is only going upscale since then, because people, they are getting more aware of the vegan protein, and expansion and new product launches is giving more boost to vegan protein market. Yeah. Coming to the fourth thing, what we will be discussing today about is current market of vegan protein in India. So as I said earlier, that current plant protein market is mainly dominated by Asia Pacific. The current Indian protein market, especially of vegan, is near about $374 million, which was observed in 2018. And the major market rising purchasing power is middle and lower income families, mainly between growing youngsters and middle-aged population, which are now getting more enthusiastic in hitting gyms and fitness clubs, because vegan protein is offering lactose-free and gluten-free products, and people, they are getting more health conscious due to free of lactose and gluten in the protein. As I said, the vegan protein market is growing rapidly. So even in India, we are able to see a forecast of $565 million by 2023, which is a very good market potential looking in protein industry. By 2050, that vegan protein will be whey protein, because the awareness and the fastest growing industry, like vegan protein shake, completely clean and natural ingredients, and hence this segment, especially of vegan protein, is increasing very rapidly. As you can see that in 2018, the market of plant protein was estimated at $374, and by 2023, that means after 5 years, we are able to see 565 million. That means a sharp rise of 8.6% from 2018 to 2023, and which is a good thing for vegan protein. Coming back to the next slide, we have challenges of vegan protein in India. As I said earlier, that whey protein is dominating the market of protein in India. So vegan protein is finding quite difficult challenges as compared to whey to set it foothold in India. So the another main challenge we are facing is adequate nutrition. As whey protein is full of some amino acids, whey protein is lacking. Like a vegan protein is lacking in some things like calcium, iodine, vitamin B12 and vitamin D, and also some omega-3 fatty acids. So if you are consuming a vegan protein, we will need to consult with a nutritionist to have a proper diet plan before hopping on the vegan bandwagon. So this is a major drawback we are facing in vegan protein to set its foothold. So many people they have to add extra calcium, extra vitamin B12 and other vitamin D supplements to make it more competitive as compared to other proteins available in market. Third is Indian population is largely non-meat based. So mainly Indian people, they consume protein origin foods from dal, rajma, and also from paneer and curd. So their enough protein intake is being completed from this thing. So mainly people think that we are already taking dal, rajma, paneer. Why should we take vegan protein? So this is the another challenge they are facing. And third thing is because of COVID-19 pandemic, there has been a huge impact on vegan protein market. And the market was quite unstable due to the pandemic because the gyms and everything was closed. So the market was quite down with vegan protein. Third point, as this is a completely free and natural solution provider for your health, it is little expensive as compared to other proteins available in the market, which are like whey protein, and people they are not very happier to change their dairy substitute with a vegan protein due to its cost, which are quite heavy, and other proteins like whey and other dairy proteins, they are quite easily available in the market, very easily available in the market. So people are quite hesitant to procure this protein, which is not easily available in the market. But now, slowly, the awareness between the people is increasing. So we hope to see that vegan protein will find its foothold by 2021 or early 2022 with easy availability in the market. So coming to the next slide, we have 4 types of vegan protein available in the market. One is pea protein, which is sourced from green and chickpeas. So pea protein is one of the most running and famous protein available in the market as means a category of vegan protein. Pea protein is one of the most highest selling and dominated vegan protein available in the market. The second one, which is dominating the vegan protein market, is brown rice protein, which is sourced from brown rice. This is not much more attractive as compared to pea protein for taste and pricings, because brown rice protein is quite expensive as compared to pea protein. So people mostly they are going with pea protein because it has set its foothold completely into the market. The third one is soy protein, which is sourced from soy flour. This is one of the best selling product in Europe, because some people they are having allergies to pea also. So they are not able to find a proper source for their body. As I said, some people are having lactose intolerance, so they are not able to consume whey protein. Some people are also having issues with pea because of its texture and digestibility. So people going with soy protein as alternative because it is also quite cheaper in the market and is readily available in nearby protein shops. The fourth one type of vegan protein is hydrolyzed vegan protein. So these are completely hydrolyzed with enzymes. Uh, the main advantage of hydrolyzed vegan protein is this is pre-hydrolyzed with the help of enzymes. So your body is able to consume it and digest it very easily. So you will not find any issues with your stomach bloatings and absorption of proteins. So this will give you a boost in your amino acid profile also and muscle recovery once you are out of your gym. So the fourth and the last point what we'll be discussing today is the health benefits of vegan protein. As I said earlier that dairy products are major sources of protein in the market. People are very much fond of whey protein due to its taste and other things. But vegan protein is also having some advantages over other dairy proteins. Like vegan protein will protect your muscle mass in many different ways by giving you those amino acids which other dairy proteins are not able to give. So this is the main point and main advantages what we can say about vegan protein. And even many studies in US and Europe, especially in Germany, have proved that vegan protein intake will increase your metabolism and it will keep your appetite controlled. Because this protein, especially vegan protein, is not giving any bloating in stomach. This will keep your appetite very limited and controlled. Vegan protein is also a very great source of instant energy because mainly it is coming from natural source. It will give you a boost, an instant boost like other proteins. So this is the best thing what we can have. Main thing, the last benefit and one of the best what I prefer is this will give a complete protection to your body muscles once your body is into a catabolism state, once you are out of your gym and not able to recover your body muscles. Vegan protein will give you that boost to your body to provide you that feeling with complete activeness, which is one of the main key. So what we can do is let's march towards a better sustainable future together and try to expand the vegan protein market in India because this is the most sustainable future what we are looking for in next decade. Vegan diet can also decrease the likelihood of developing type 2 diabetes, which is also a great benefit of consuming a vegan protein. Mainly protein sources, as I said, are coming from pea and soy protein and pea protein. Coming up in vegan protein, emerging protein. In next few years, we can see that other vegan proteins like coming from lentils, coming from chia, quinoa will find its foothold in India in coming days. So as I explained you, the benefits of vegan protein, we have also discussed about types of vegan protein. And as I explained you, the health benefits what we have for vegan protein is really awesome. So we should really march towards a better sustainable future together and make this a big success in India. So that's all for vegan protein what we have. So I will welcome if someone has some questions to discuss on vegan protein.
Thank you so much, Dr. Samrat. Quite insightful, and it's the different types of protein, its market and its potential is really encouraging, and a new era of protein, vegan protein is coming up. Before I open up the questions, I will say personal question to you in terms of understanding what is the functionality of vegan proteins. I mean, if we take egg protein on 100 scale, which is supposed to be the best in terms of functionality, digestibility of protein of the cells. So, what is the percentage or what range would be the vegan protein if we compare it with egg protein in terms of functionality or in terms of digestibility?
Yeah, so as of now, vegan protein is very easily digestible. Like 90% of vegan protein will be easily digestible. You have to just take like 200 ml of water and you will be adding like a 33 grams of powder, which will be very easily digestible along with enzymes.
Along with enzymes. Okay, thank you so much. So I open the floor for question and answers. Are there questions in the chat box? Can the IT team see if there are questions in the chat box? Hello? Okay, sure, sure. So, so we are, so, uh, so the organizations like Clean Meat and this who are focusing more on the vegan protein. There is also on the not really on the protein side, but something which is coming up in the vegan side is the jackfruit. So, what are your thoughts on jackfruit versus the other proteins? Jackfruit
Yeah.
is more from a digestive, I mean, the dietary fiber point of view.
Yeah, even I have heard recently that protein is also being taken from jackfruit, but this is not the big thing coming up. Are you talking about the protein coming from the jackfruit fruit or the jackfruit seed?
No, the jackfruit, it's what I've heard is like there's a organizations about there are organizations which are specialized in jackfruit protein. And so one part is the protein and the second part is the dietary fibers. So, but then jackfruit is also becoming kind of, it's on the way of becoming popular.
Yes, yes, yes. So now vegan protein is finding its foothold in coming few years, as I explained in my slide also. The most running vegan protein, what we are able to observe right now in India is pea protein.
Right.
And the second one coming up is brown rice protein. Then soy protein is also trying to see its foothold in Indian market. And even jackfruit, you're right, is finding its way to come in India.
Right.
And even the good point about jackfruit is the fibers. The fibers in jackfruits are quite high as compared to other vegan proteins. So I hope that jackfruit protein will find its foothold in India very soon because of its high fiber content.
That's right.
Okay.
So I think
yeah, we have next question coming up from the audience. So I'll just pose those questions. So this is with regards to a very protein enthusiast person, I guess. So are protein products available in India 100% genuine? And where can we find genuine products in India, considering that every kilometer you would find a protein shop? So how to test the authenticity of that?
Yeah. So this is a very good question from the person who asked. So I would like to confirm that in India as of now, I'll be very honest that it is not, I cannot confirm that the protein will be 100% authentic in India as of now because of many other ingredients what they are using in protein to reduce the cost and trying to develop some more cost effective proteins, which is not a good sign in India. I don't know why people are doing this and risking people's life more and more due to cost cutting. So I will 100% agree with him that the protein which are available in India are not 100% genuine because some people they are also trying to sell protein in 100 rupees per kg. So everyone will be shocked that how it is possible to sell a pure protein with 100% with 100 rupees per kg, which is really shocking because vegan protein, we ourselves are manufacturing vegan protein since decades, and the raw material cost itself comes around 300 to 400 rupees per kg, plus processing and other costings will make it much costlier. So yeah, definitely the product what are available in India are not 100% genuine, but we have to see the genuinity and try to get the lab certificate that what they are claiming is right. Some people they are also trying to sell glue as a protein, which is not a good sign, and the body is not able to accept it. So we have to be very particular before buying a protein that it is coming from a good brand and the protein is having its all certificates showing that the protein is perfect for human consumption.
Okay, we have another question. So, how to come or overcome vitamin B12 deficiency if we switch over to vegan foods from milk and meat products, uh, as vegan foods are not a good source of vitamin B12. So, your comments on that?
Yes. So it is absolutely right that vitamin B12 is not having that much impact. Means vegan protein is not having that much effect of vitamin B12. So some companies in India they are offering additional B12 mixing in vegan protein. So we have to find out those companies who are able to give additional vitamin B12 like with added vitamin B12 vegan protein in India. And even yeast can fortify your vitamin B12 deficiency. And yeah, that's all.
One more question we have is, could you throw some light on what is the difference between vegan protein and animal milk protein, and especially on what is the nutritional difference in both?
Mm-hmm. So even as I explained in my slide, that there is no much big difference between a vegan protein and whey protein. The main difference is about the amino acid profile and the digestibility. Some people they are not able to tolerate whey protein and they may face some bloating issues, and some people they are not very fond of dietary means coming from milk protein like whey protein, and the people who prefer 100% pure protein will always prefer vegan protein because this has more benefits coming up with as compared to whey. If there means there are many more protein companies in India which are adding other ingredients to make it more sustainable and easily digestible as compared to whey. Especially in veg, if we talk about drawback, veg can have less protein as compared to non-veg protein. So non-veg protein like whey will have high protein content. But the main advantage of veg protein is that it will be easily digestible in your body because amino acids are very free for digestion in vegan protein, and the body is easily digestible. the body can easily digest your vegan protein. Whereas in non-veg, like in whey protein, the molecules are very big, especially for amino acids. So some people, they are finding it difficult to digest in their body. These two are the main differences between veg and non-veg. Third one will be about pricings. Vegan protein will be somewhat costlier because of its more advantages as compared to whey. And whey can be easily available in market, but with low pricings. So these are the main differences.
Okay. And we have one more question. So nowadays, trends in vegan milk like almond, soy, pea, but how can you call these things as milk? Milk is secretion of mammary gland. How can we compare these vegan milk with bovine milk? So that's the question. Your comments on those?
With bovine milk,
Yes.
can you repeat me the question?
So how considering the trend of for vegan milk is like almond, soy, pea, so and milk is the secretion of mammary gland. So how can we compare these vegan milk with bovine milk?
Maybe I can answer that. Now FSSI is putting the restrictions on use of words like milk for almond milk or soya milk. They're asking it for replacement. So very soon we will have regulation coming in which will replace the word milk from these things. So this particular thing has been considered by FSSI and they're working on this.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Ms. Chinmay, can we just conclude the session with your closing remarks? Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, Dr. Samrat, this has been insightful session, and I'm sure, you're the fastest growing company when it comes to pea protein, and we would like to see this as the most selling pea protein company in India, not just in India but in the world, because yes, pea protein is coming like it's said that it's like a main rival between soya protein. Pea protein has become a rival to it. Thank you for giving us a complete insight. And this we covered since morning session on blockchain technology, on sugar replacement, and now on vegan. And I'm sure for the audience, this would have been a really an insightful session in the morning. In the afternoon, we have session on the ProPack. AFST is organizing two sessions, which is on sustainable packaging and the new trends in packaging from Mr. Dr. Irmia as well as Dr. Sukanto. Do join us for the next sessions. And in the evening, FSTI is organizing one more lecture, which is Padma Shri Dr. Srinivasan lecture on non-GMO. The debate continues. I guess we are very much on time, and have a lovely afternoon and evening. Thank you so much.
A big thank you to ASFTI for conducting these sessions for us. Thank you very much, ma'am, for wonderfully moderating these sessions. Thank you so much.